Peace, rise and shine, my family. We're gonna jump right into a class with Dr. Leila Africa, and he's gonna get into the pineal gland and indigenous people. My people. That I classify. Black, indigenous. Man, I love indigenous more than the labels that are classified or and were created at a low vibration. All right, it wasn't created on an equal playing field. So let's get into the class before I go in. One time for the one time.
Body is put in the pineal gland, and when you hear your father, that stimulates your pineal gland, putting your body into Earth orbit. We have these major orbits or rhythmicities of our system: Earth cycle, lunar cycle, solar cycle, and the galaxy cycle. The galaxy cycle is dominant. Even if they cut out your pineal gland, this rhythm will still be in your body.
Wow, you hear that? Still have it.
But we don't get into that rhythm because you have to be more or less spiritual and more or less grounded in your culture, because your culture defines your spirituality. Now, we don't worship our culture. We don't worship spirituality. We don't worship religion. We only worship the uncreated, which is God. Because anything created will go through cycles. The water, the air, you have the monsoons. Anything created goes through cycles. It goes through maturity and then it deteriorates, be it a culture, be it a physical body. So you don't worship creation. You only worship the uncreated. And this is part of the creation cycle, which we call the fetus position, which it develops into, but this is how we start. And this is when the blueprint is laid in your body. This is the blueprint or track, which receives information from the galaxy. You can only receive this kind of galactical stimulation through your pineal gland. And the pineal gland lays down the blueprint in your system, which receives that, which the Chinese call your acupuncture meridians. And the Indian people call it your chakras. This is in your brain tissue right here, which is destroyed by alcohol, by the way. Wow. And bleach and sugar, which you call malt liquor, destroys that, and vinegar destroys that, and white sugar destroys that, and we can get into that a little later. This is your brain cells here. This is the galaxy, as you would call it. It transduces this force into your body. And this is referred to as your third eye inside of your body. It's larger in African people than any other race.
You heard that?
Your anatomical third eye. It has an orbit. It tilts, it spins. It travels around. It's floating in the third ventricle, which is amniotic, which is similar to amniotic fluid, which we call cerebrospinal fluid, which is referred to in the holy books like the Bible, Quran, as the holy waters. These are your holy waters. And this galaxy moves. It's over top of the pineal gland, but it has its own orbit. It's really beyond my verbal description. But we're talking about the pineal gland.
Jam for real.
We're talking about what regulates the sexual system.
Oh, shit.
That's why we have two functions for your sex organs. One is called reproductive, and the other is called regeneration. Reproductive system is called ejaculation. The regeneration system is called ejaculation. And what you're trying to do when you stimulate your sexual glands is to go up this glandular highway, which is sometimes referred to as Jacob's ladder. You go up the glandular highway, going up the adrenals, the pancreas, the thymus, the thyroid, pituitary to your pineal gland to stimulate that, and that's called regeneration. Then the energy force goes back down to your sexual glands again. That would be your testicles, the ovaries, that sort of thing. We have a glandular highway. What happens is when you're training people to breed, you only function on the glands below this marker here, the adrenals. You're down in these glands here, because that's part of the reproductive system, the sympathetic nervous system response to reproduction, which I will show you. But when you're training people to breed, you're only on the lower glandular system. Unfortunately, we were trained to breed, not to have sexual intercourse. It is to their benefit to keep us that way. Now, this is from the pyramid text. This is our ancestors describing this glandular network called the chakras and called the acupuncture meridians by those yin-yang people who know next to nothing about science and very little about African people. You have the ik, which is your crown, your mirror, which is your third eye. You have your shakam, which is your thyroid. You have your kepra, which is your heart or thymus, and you have your you say abdominal, abdomen. That means above, the house above your domain of the sun. This is the what they call your solar system inside of your body. And when you're above the domain of the sun, your they call it your abdomen. And you're getting down to your pancreas and, of course, your reproductive system. And this is the glandular highway, but it also describes, this is why this animal looks like a dog is fighting here, because he's showing the separation between the lower, what they call the lower energy force field and the upper energy force field. As represented by ancestors, when they weigh your heart against the feather of Ma'at on the scales of justice. In European culture, justice is blind. A lot of y'all say just us. What they mean is just this, we're in charge. You see? But we weigh it on these scales here. And then again, we show this glandular system or chakras, which are melanin clusters in your body, which are stimulated through regeneration, not reproduction.
I like the way he teaches.
And it's shown again, which is why our ancestors did what you call corn rolling, which is symbolic of this system. To someone who does not understand the system, it is a design. All designs are language. If you know the language, it is not a design. But when you're reinforcing this information to children and you are using the same system in what they call corn rolling, which reinforces that. Again, it comes out of Africa. Everyone has stolen from us. The American Indians stole their rhythms from us, from the Yamasee and Cohitas. These were the Native Americans here before the so-called red man was here. They're using our beats and our clothing, and they're very racist too. Now, I'm going to show you the systems technically. We have each system controlled by a color, each system controlled by a musical note, a number, and a letter. If you look at the products that the Europeans manufacture, their biggest selling products will use these letters. Yeah. They do use these colors. There's no accident. Nope. And they're coming out of this African system. Just as when they come into the black community with their police and their National Guard, they use an African military science. Whatever they're using is our stuff that's coming back at us, like country and western music is stride, rhythms created by African people. That's African music. Now y'all don't like it. Like classical music, orchestras, that comes out of the African string system. And then they use it. You don't like it. It's our stuff coming back again. Like the hair industry was started by African women who tried to do something with that white woman's limp hair. And they used to stand up for 6 and 12 hours trying to put curls in that slop. The whole salon industry was started by African women. The white women just took it over. All I'm saying is our science again. It's just that we don't recognize it anymore because everybody claims everything is ours.
We keep forgetting.
Some of them, people even claim us as their property. It's too sickening to talk about. But nonetheless, those same little things.
9-minute mark. So I hope y'all got what y'all need to get. Listen to this again. Go to his page. One time for the one time. Ashe. Namaste.